Coming up on NFL Live, the back and forth between Baker Mayfield and Richard Sherman continues, begging the bigger question: what does all the noise mean for Baker and the Browns? Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were taken just 2 spots apart in the 2017 draft. Now they lead their 2 teams against each other, a matchup that could mean much more later. And Daniel Jones has done almost everything right since his name was called in Nashville. Find out why all the naysayers never concerned the quarterback from Duke. And if you're a Jaguars fan, perhaps it's sight for sore eyes, although the participation was somewhat limited. Jalen Ramsey, however, back on the practice field with his Jags teammates, although his stance hasn't changed. He'd like to move on and play elsewhere. The team apparently, clearly I should say, reluctant to trade him. Happy to have you with us on this Wednesday afternoon. Wendy Nix, Dan Orlovsky, Marcus Spears, and Coach Jack Del Rio. One of the better games, I think we can agree, of the weekend will find the Texans on the road in Kansas City. We will talk about that. First, I forgot, Jalen Ramsey back in practice, so let me get your thoughts on that before we proceed. Dan.
The roller coaster of this kind of situation takes another turn. I would have thought that he probably would have never stepped on the field for them again, whether it was practice or a game, but it's certainly good that he's back with his teammates and out on the practice field, and this is a team that's still good enough to be in the division title conversation, so that matters.
Let me add this, Marcus. It's the first time that Jalen Ramsey has practiced, and I sort of use that term loosely because he didn't do a whole lot, but the first time he's been back at practice in 20 days. He's seen back specialists. Yeah. The back soreness is the issue, at least of late, as to why he's been out.
I mean, look,
in quotes.
I teeter lightly when guys are dealing with injuries, but it's just super coincidental that all of this is taking place and now these things are going on with his body. Look, here's the deal. Jalen Ramsey probably does have some issues like all football players, and it's something that's highlighted when you're in a place you don't want to be. And when the owner comes out, when the owner comes out and says we have no plan to trade Jalen Ramsey, it seems like this is an off-season play. Like the movement is going to happen in the offseason with Jalen Ramsey. We could talk about other teams and their offers and they don't like things. Right now, it just seems like it's just back and forth. Just we just gonna beef for the rest of the season and we'll figure it out in the offseason.
I'm not sure. It seems. I mean, that's so far. That's exactly what we're watching. And Shad Khan has been clear, Coach, at least right now, there's no intention to trade Jalen Ramsey.
Can we give him some truth serum or something?
I mean,
get to the bottom of this.
I
mean, really, if he's really hurt, then he's not really tradable. I mean, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
well, that's a fair point also.
Is he really hurt where he can't? I'm just happy to see him on the practice field. To me, that's a step in the right direction. Let's get back to playing football, Jalen.
All right, we're moving in the right direction at least on this Wednesday. Now we'll talk about that big game, okay? It will be the first matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Again, I say they were drafted just 2 picks apart in 2017. Patrick Mahomes, though, dealing with a bit of an injury. Here's head coach Andy Reid.
Yeah, we're not going to put him in harm's way there. I mean, that's not how we roll here. So, you know, I don't do it. I mean, I let the docs and our trainer take care of it. And if we thought it was going to hurt him down the road, he wouldn't be in there. So the main thing was he got stepped on. That's what happened in the game. You know, that's so. And then it kind of settled down after that, but that happens.
What's the next hurdle that Tyreek needs to clear with his shoulder?
Yeah, I think this is just a time thing. We'll see. He's going to work this week, and we'll see how he feels. You know, this is pure how he feels. And this isn't a real common injury in the NFL, so we're just trying to make sure it's right.
Yeah, I actually feel pretty good today. I feel like after the game, I mean, it was sore after the game, but it's feeling pretty good today. So I'm glad to be able to go out there and practice on it and get it moving around and stuff like that. But it's definitely, I feel like I'll be fine playing and moving around and still doing what I need to do to win. I mean, it's not perfect, I guess you say that, but it's good enough that I feel like I can still run, cut off of it, and do all that type of stuff.
Well, again, as you heard Andy Reid indicate, it's an injured ankle of sorts. We'll also talk about Tyreek Hill, but first off, any concerns really for the productivity of Patrick Mahomes?
Not really. I mean, I've had that before where you get the offensive lineman 300 pounds pushed back into you and he's trying to brace. It's not like a structural thing. It's almost like, I mean, getting a vicious Charlie horse to not only all your muscle down there, but also to the bone. It's just a pain thing. It's not, I can't run. And you heard Patrick talk about, like, you can still do all the things. It's just really painful to do it. And so I don't have necessarily, like, big-time concerns. I would imagine this, that Houston would come after him early on, right? And try to test that ankle and see, because we see him make so many special plays, the improvisation plays. Yeah,
early and often.
And right, you know, I would expect the pressure to come off his right and try and force him to move to that banged-up left ankle.
Tyreek Hill, a little bit of a different story, really pivotal, Marcus, to what they want to do. And he, too, is considerably less than 100%.
It's probably the most untalked about thing that gives a team an advantage in the NFL. Like, I know, you know, he's been out and we haven't really talked about it much, and the Chiefs have done so well offensively outside of the game against the Colts. But we talking about a player that is elite as it gets from playmaking ability. Now, you couple that with Patrick Mahomes, and the dynamic of the team changes. The dynamic of how Andy Reid calls plays changes. When you have players in your building, and this is what we talk about with Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes, by his presence on the field, creating opportunities for other people, that's Tyreek Hill. Like, you are better offensively as a player in that system when he's on the field, not only because of the attention, but because of what he does when he gets the ball. So it'll benefit Watkins, it'll benefit Kelsey, it'll benefit all of those guys when he's back, not just the Chiefs alone.
I would say, go ahead, Coach.
No, well, 100%. I mean, first of all, when he gets the jet sweep, okay,
yeah.
Watch
all
out.
he has to do is get it one time. Then the other 5 or 6 times that they bluff it, you know, it's pulling defenders over there. So, you know, you can't help but react to a guy like that. Explosive speed.
Yes.
He's got explosive speed. He's a touchdown waiting to happen.
Listen, it's important to point out, like, when this team is healthy offensively, Kansas City, they're the scariest football team in the NFL. And it is a very real fear of coaches and players when Tyreek is on the field of, man, what defense can we play here to execute well? Ever since he's been off, you see teams defensively have less chances and less fear, and they're getting up and playing man coverage, and they're hitting those receivers at the line of scrimmage because they're not scared of 4-2 going by them.
The threat isn't there. It really doesn't matter what Tyreek Hill does. It's the threat of what he can do that keeps you on your toes, and that defenses have to prepare for.
And also in ways. Other than just lining up at wide receiver, he changes every – Coach, you know, I mean, you put together plans, and I've been sitting in meetings and plans. Like, the plan when we played Michael Vick was, don't let Michael Vick kill us. All right, Coach, what's next? Don't let Michael Vick kill us. Coach, what's the third coaching point? Don't let Michael Vick kill us. That's the type of player that Tyreek Hill is. So it's just so many things created off his availability.
Well, it's funny you use the word created, because meanwhile, back at the ranch, handshake gate, that's my word, continues between Baker Mayfield and Richard Sherman. Although, I got to be honest, at this point, I feel like it's pretty much between Richard Sherman and Richard Sherman. Two views here of what actually happened. In one, it does appear Mayfield obliged in any kind of pregame etiquette of greeting, handshake, whatever you want to call it. And then after the coin toss, you know, he runs off because they got the ball. Listen up.
As I'm walking up to him, you know what I mean, he's the next person in line. He's kind of just standing back with his hands down. So, you know, he doesn't take a step. He doesn't look to move up. So I put my hand out, you know, just out of courtesy. Like, and he gives me a little petty, you know, slap on the hand. And I took it as disrespect because the way he was standing back, like he wasn't walking up and approaching like everybody else. So I was like, okay. And I already felt some type of way at the beginning. So once we got done with that, you know, they call it, and he just turns and runs off. I say, oh, okay, it's football. It's a rah-rah environment. So if you find motivation where you can, and if you can find it in a coin toss handshake, then there you go. You know, it's definitely my bad. I never want anybody to have to deal with some stuff that they didn't do. You know, and so. You know, the questions that he's going to get and the annoying nonsense questions about some stuff that happened in a game that's already been done, you know, sure, he'll get an apology for that. I'll probably reach out to him via text or social media to actually get a hold of him and talk to him in person. I mean, on the phone.
That was Richard Sherman today. Clearly a bit of a mea culpa, I think deserved. I would also add Marcus, he said he couldn't believe how much was being made of this. Unfortunately, Richard is the one who sort of opened this can of worms to begin with.
Well, number one, I'm glad he acknowledged that he was wrong in that instance, but he played that man in this. Rich played Baker in this instance. And nobody on TV has been as hard on Baker Mayfield than I have for his actions and the way he approaches dude. And whether you felt like the handshake was a disrespectful one or not, nobody can determine that because you feel how you feel. But with what happened and everything that's transpired between Dapgate, Richard Sherman created this. And, whether like, I'm sure Baker wasn't enamored to shake his hand anyway. Like,
He doesn't have to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've been in games where you're not enamored to shake dudes' hands. But based on Baker's history, a lot of dudes are just going to play. This is a part of the ideology of Baker Mayfield. And I think that's important for people to remember. Like, dudes are already coming to the stadium with a preconceived notion that he's disrespectful. Like, everybody is, and that's the majority of the guys that I talk to that play in the league. That's their sentiment.
I think that's a little harsh in this situation. Like, Baker didn't do anything here. He never, he did what.
But perception is reality, I think is what Marcus is saying. I agree with you, but he has that aura of sort of being a
there's no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean that you go on in a post-game situation and say, this didn't happen or it happened this way.
Rich lied. He lied about that. He lied about that because
Richard
he said
misled.
Before. Yeah, he misled. He said before the game.
Which led to a situation where I've got to say, my bad.
Yeah,
just
your
like
bad.
You did.
Yo,
my bad that it was your bad.
Yeah.
My bad that it was your bad.
My bad that it was your bad and not Baker's.
Right.
How many times have you not wanted to shake your opponent's hand before or after the game? I know you probably did it, but just how many times you not?
Yeah, I mean, when you don't really want to do it, you just give them a little squeeze. You give them a little extra.
You pull them closer.
Crush their knuckles. You know,
pull them closer.
Yeah, I mean,
like Debo.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, since Richard Sherman said his bad, I think we can all agree to it. It's another reminder to sort of pause for a minute, because I know I, for one, just because of the perception, my bad too, the perception of Baker, I just immediately assumed Richard Sherman was correct, and that Baker should act accordingly. And you know what? My bad. So, I mean, I think that's what you have to say in this
for sure.
instance.
And credit, like you said, credit Sherman. He's owning it.
Oh, well, all right.
It.
I would call it mini controversy, right? That's not really
that big of a
mini
deal.
Controversy. However, from one to another,
we like beef.
We like beef. Coming up on NFL Live, the Redskins face the Dolphins Week 6, and one team has to win, you would think anyway. Josina Anderson